Assassin's Creed Shadows is a game that basically nobody is excited for at this point. I shouldn't say nobody, I mean there's probably like one or two diehard Assassin's Creed fans that are still in on it. Also, I apologize for the mediocre voiceover. I had the genius idea to record this during the morning, but basically everybody else has lost faith in this project for one reason or the other. Me personally, I actually haven't played any of the Assassin's Creed games. I know the first few are supposed to be really good. I'll play them eventually once I get the time. I do own them. But yeah, haven't heard much positivity about the recent games, that's for sure. But this game has had a constant controversy thunderstorm over its head ever since it was revealed. And because of that, if you search up Assassin's Creed Shadows on Twitter, it's literally just people shitting on the game. Now I know for a lot of people the main reason they hate this game is because of the main protagonist Yasuke. Now Yasuke is a black samurai in this game, which if you know literally anything about Japan, like at all, you know that is a really weird choice to make when they could have just made you play as, I don't know, a Japanese character. I'm not really emotionally invested in this situation since I'm not Japanese and I'm not a fan of Assassin's Creed, but I can definitely understand why people are pissed about this. The problem is that, as this tweet points out, basically every other Assassin's Creed game that takes place in a certain country or culture, you play as somebody native to that area, and people have been asking for a Japanese game from this series for over a decade now, so when we finally get that, they kinda just disrespect Japanese culture by doing this. Again, it's not about Yasuke's race specifically that's the issue. It's about the fact that the protagonist isn't part of the culture he's being placed in. It's just odd, especially when you consider that, at least from what I know about it, Yasuke was a real historical figure in Japan, but he was not a full-fledged samurai like this game is trying to make him out to be. So if you're going to put a historical figure in the game as the protagonist, at least make it historically accurate. Anyway, back to the Twitter stuff. People are just taking massive dumps on the game at the moment. Of course, a lot of these people you'll recognize as really big anti-woke people, which obviously I don't agree with everything they say, so keep that in mind. So Grums tweets out, Ubisoft then, get used to not owning your games. Oh yeah, that's true, I remember Ubisoft saying that. That was basically the beginning of the end for them, let's be honest. Ubisoft now, get used to not having jobs. And he attaches another tweet by 80 Level, which points out that Ubisoft has shut down its studio in Leamington, UK, and fired 185 employees across several of its offices. Then there's this tweet by a guy named Kangmin Lee, where he basically nitpicks some of the realistic aspects that we've seen from Shadows so far, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing, especially since AAA games try so hard to be like real life. So when they get things wrong, it's perfectly reasonable to point those out. So he's basically pointing out that in the image on screen, you can see cherry blossom trees at the same time as watermelons, and apparently these are never seen at the same time in Japan due to seasonal changes, and also watermelons apparently weren't even introduced to Japan until the Edo period. Then he makes a joke about watermelons and Yasuke, which I didn't even think about until now. That's crazy. Then we have some article from Games Radar that says, Assassin's Creed Shadows devs want you to know that Yasuke isn't an assassin, and that means he's not getting any of those classic assassin abilities. Now, if true, this is absolutely absurd. It's literally called Assassin's Creed. Also, just the hypocrisy here. You say he wasn't an assassin, so you can't make him an assassin in the game, but he wasn't a samurai either. Meanwhile, you're making him a samurai. You just can't make this shit up. Also, apparently Yasuke was removed from the pre-order banner for the game, which is hilarious. Yasuke is so unpopular with the fans that they were so desperate to regain the public's trust that now they're just trying to hide him in the marketing. That's pathetic yet hilarious. And finally, I want to briefly talk about the livestream that Ubisoft did on Twitch recently. Apparently, it was a bit of a disaster. A big criticism among the people watching it was, in the game there's a cutscene like every 2 minutes, which yeah, there absolutely is a such thing as too much cutscenes in a game, and the glitches were super apparent in the live stream too, and at one point they couldn't even pet the dog without the game breaking on them. There's also some gameplay footage of the game on YouTube now, and I'll be honest, I wasn't impressed. Gameplay just looks like a more awkward version of Ghost of Tsushima, and yeah, that's basically all this game is, because it's literally not even an Assassin's Creed game, since the protagonist isn't even an assassin. Yeah, it's just It's truly a mess of a situation. I don't want this game to fail. I don't want people to keep losing their jobs over at Ubisoft, but it's obvious why it's happening. They're not making games that gamers like, and some might say they're doing it on purpose. They made one game in the past 5 years that I enjoyed, which was Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which unfortunately sold horribly but deserved much better. But yeah, let me know what you think about Assassin's Creed Shadows. To me, it looks like the sloppiest slop that has ever slopped.